Seller says they don't want to work with wholesalers, and most new wholesalers panic and lie. Closers, we actually lean in. While most wholesalers want to know the right answer, closers want to know the why behind the statement. One of the biggest moments where new wholesalers freeze is when a seller says, I don't want to work with a wholesaler. You can almost feel the panic through the phone, right? Your brain immediately goes, oh crap, they don't like wholesalers. How am I going to make this deal work? And this is where most new wholesalers, including myself when I was new, make a mistake. They lie, they dodge the question, or they try to answer quickly just to move the conversation forward. Okay? But closers, we think differently. Most wholesalers want the right answers. Closers, we want the reason behind the statement. Because if a seller says they don't want to work with wholesalers, the real question is why. So let me show you how the conversation should actually go. All right, seller asks, what do you do? Tell them straight up, short and sweet, I am a private investor. Sometimes they'll follow up with, do you wholesale? Are you the middleman? Do you broker this thing? And I say, I flip, I buy and hold, and in certain cases, I wholesale. But what makes me different is by the end of this call, Mr. Seller, I can tell you exactly how I'd approach your deal. Now, at that point, sometimes that's when the seller says, I don't want to deal with a middleman. I don't want you brokering this. Or I don't want to work with wholesalers, right? So this is where most new wholesalers panic. But instead of defending yourself, lean in, okay? What I mean by that is I simply say, just curious, why is that? Because more often than not, it's not about wholesalers, it's about a bad experience, right? And maybe they say something like, oh yeah, this wholesaler locked me up for 60 days and then dropped me on the 59th day. Boom, just like Vince Carter, game over. I love this. Now you know exactly what the real objection is. It's not wholesaling, it's uncertainty, it's lack of transparency, it's wasted time. So I'll tell them something like this, like, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these Wahoos graduated from YouTube University, following other Wahoos dressed as gurus. But I'm different. I'm no baker. I don't sugarcoat things. I know that area well, and I know my numbers. So, by the end of this call, if I feel the best way to structure this deal is by wholesaling it, I will tell you up front. That way, there are no surprises, and we can manage each other's expectations together. Does that make sense? Then I add, most wholesalers aren't actually end buyers. They follow this 70% rule that doesn't really work in many markets, and that's why they couldn't move your property. I run my numbers from an end buyer's perspective, and I am part of a large network of investors. So if I decide to wholesale this deal, I can usually tell you within the next 14 days whether we can make it work or not. Okay? Then I say something important. Just like you, I don't like surprises, and I don't like being tied up for a long freaking time. So I wouldn't do that to you. Is that fair? And almost every time the seller says, yeah, that's fair. Now the wall comes down. And then I follow up with a question that gives me critical information. Just curious, how long ago did this happen? Then you just let them ramble on, they'll unload on you, whatever. Man, I'm so sorry you had to go through all of that. How much are we under contract for with that guy? Jeez. See how I frame that question? They'll usually answer that. Okay, now that is a huge, massive data point. Either that wholesaler couldn't dispo the deal, or the seller was just simply overpriced. Either way, now you know where the previous deal failed, and that gives you leverage going forward. Okay, this is a big lesson, because not only leverage, but you know where you need to be. When sellers say they don't want to work with wholesalers, the problem isn't the label. The problem is the experience they had with that wholesaler. And our job as closers isn't to defend ourselves. Our job is to understand the why. Because once you know the why, you can solve. Okay? And just like everything else in this business, just like everything else, online assassins, we listen, we solve, okay? We educate, we inform, then we close. So folks, it's time for another cup. Till next time, speed and volume, speed and volume.